Dear beloved child, there are seasons in your life when everything around you seems to become nothing but a wilderness. You walk with weary feet, carrying questions that still have no answers, and your heart feels heavy because you think you are being left behind. There are nights when you look up to heaven and hear only silence. You pray, yet you do not hear an answer. You try to be strong, but deep within, you feel as though the waters of hope are slowly running dry. And in those moments, you begin to wonder whether I still see you. But my beloved child, I have never taken my eyes off you, not even for a single second. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. As Psalm 34:18 says, I am closest to you in the very moments when you feel most alone. Remember Hagar in the wilderness. People often remember only the great figures, but I want you to look at that woman, someone who was pushed out of what was familiar, holding her young child as she walked through a dry and barren land with eyes full of despair. When the water was gone, she placed the child under a bush and turned away because she did not have the strength to watch her son die of thirst. In that moment, she thought all hope had come to an end. But then I opened her eyes to see a well of water very near her. My beloved child, that well had not just appeared. It had already been there. It was only pain and fear that had left her unable to see it. And many times in your life, it is the same. You think I have prepared nothing for you simply because you have not yet seen it. But I am still quietly keeping a source of water ready for your soul in the middle of the wilderness. There are doors that close and make you think you have been rejected. But in truth, I am protecting you from what was never meant for you. There are people who walk away and leave your heart broken. But I know they cannot go with you into the new season I am preparing. There are times when you are misunderstood, even though you have lived sincerely, treated coldly, even though you have loved with all your heart. And it makes you want to withdraw, to hide your light so that you will not be hurt again. But my beloved child, I did not light you so that you would shrink back and live in darkness. You are the light of the world. As Matthew 5:14 says, light was not created to compete or to seek attention. Light exists to guide lost souls back to hope. I know there are days when you feel so exhausted that you only want to give up. There are mornings when you wake with a heart as heavy as stone. There are prayers you have repeated for so long that even you have begun to fear hoping again. But child, do not measure my presence by your present emotions. The sun does not disappear simply because dark clouds cover it, and I do not disappear simply because you cannot feel me as clearly as before. Some of the deepest works I do in your life take place in silence. A seed beneath the soil makes no sound as it takes root. But within that silence, life is being prepared for the season of blooming ahead. My beloved child, do not fear seasons of refinement. Gold does not become pure without passing through fire. A tree does not stand firm without having endured strong winds. And a soul cannot mature deeply without learning to trust me in days when it does not understand everything. I do not allow you to pass through storms in order to destroy you. I use them to teach you that true peace does not depend on outward circumstances. True peace is knowing that even in the middle of the battle, I am still holding your hand. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives. As John 14:27 says, there are people who know peace only when everything is going well. But I am teaching you a deeper kind of peace, a peace that remains even when the sky is still filled with dark clouds. A peace that keeps you walking forward even when you cannot yet see the whole path. A peace that allows you to remain gentle even after you have been wounded. A peace that keeps you praying even when the answer has not yet arrived. And my beloved child, it is through these very things that your soul is growing stronger than you realize. So today, lift up your head instead of bowing down in fear. Let your heart rest quietly in my hands. Do not run away from difficult seasons, Because after the rain, the earth blooms in ways it never could before. I am leading you through every valley, not so that you will sink beneath it, but so that you may discover that my grace is sufficient for every season of your life. And one day, you will look back on this tear-filled journey and realize this truth. No dark night was meaningless. No prayer was forgotten. And not a single moment passed in which I stopped loving you. In the very things you once thought would destroy you, I was quietly shaping a soul that is deeper, gentler, and filled with more light than ever before. My beloved child, I never created you to live in panic and confusion. When I call you to walk through the battles of your life, I do not ask you to struggle in fear or rely on your own strength against the darkness. I call you to stand firm in my presence. Like an ancient tree whose roots remain deep, even while storms rage around it. There are battles that are not won through the shouting of anxiety, but through a soul that knows how to rest in the power of the Most High. For the enemy of your soul always seeks to plant panic within your mind, because he knows that when the human heart is filled with unrest, it begins to doubt me, doubt itself, and unknowingly open the door for darkness to enter. But child, when you keep your spirit calm in the midst of adversity, you are closing those doors and declaring that I am still king over every storm. Be still and know that I am God. As Psalm 46:10 says, this is not merely a word of comfort, it is a key to spiritual victory. I know there have been many times when you thought you constantly had to do something in order to prove your faith. You believed that if you did not struggle hard enough or fight fiercely enough, it meant you were weak. But my beloved child, there are moments when the deepest faith is revealed through complete rest in me. When the sea grew violent and the waves crashed against the boat, the disciples trembled because they thought everything was about to end. Yet Jesus remained asleep in the middle of the storm. He did not sleep because he was indifferent to danger, but because he knew the supreme authority of the Father still covered the ocean. Then he rose and spoke to the wind, saying, "Peace, be still." As written in Mark 4:9-36, my child, I also want your soul to learn how to rest in the middle of storms in the same way. Not because you deny reality, but because you know that the one who holds you is greater than whatever rises against you. There is a story that few people truly reflect upon deeply enough, the story of King Jehoshaphat when an innumerable army came against Judah. To human eyes, it was a battle that could not possibly be won. Yet instead of panicking or rushing into battle by his own strength, he turned to seek me. And I spoke to the people, saying, "The battle is not yours, but God's." As written in 2 Chronicles 20:15, what is remarkable is that I did not command them to advance first with swords and weapons, but to go forward with praise upon their lips. While they worshipped and kept their trust in me, I caused the enemy armies to destroy one another. Do you see? My child, many of the greatest victories do not come through your desperate striving, but when you trust deeply enough to allow me to fight for you. So today, do not allow your soul to be pulled into the whirlwind of anger and fear. The enemy delights in making you react impulsively, because a troubled mind is easily led astray. When you are consumed by anger, you can no longer hear my voice clearly. When you are drowning in anxiety, your eyes will see only the crashing waves and forget that my hand is still holding the boat of your life. But when you enter into my peace, something sacred begins to happen. You are no longer controlled by circumstances. Words of attack lose their power. Arrows of doubt can no longer pierce your heart. You begin to see everything from the position of faith rather than from fear. Remember that peace is not a sign of weakness, but the weapon of mature souls. The world believes strength means always reacting, always proving yourself, always winning by having the louder voice. But true strength is when you can stand in the middle of chaos while your heart remains anchored in me. Like Daniel entering the lion's den without allowing terror to devour his faith, the lions were still there. The darkness still surrounded him, but his heart rested in me, and fear could not rule his soul. And I sent my angel to shut the mouths of the lions. You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you. As Isaiah 26:3 declares, my beloved child, that peace does not come from favorable circumstances, but from a heart firmly anchored in me. I know there are nights when you lie awake worrying about the future. There are moments when your thoughts spin endlessly around countless unknowns. You try to find answers for everything, trying to control things that are beyond your reach. And in the end, that very struggle leaves your soul exhausted. But today, I want you to lay down that burden, not because your problems are small, but because your shoulders were never created to carry the whole world. Only I am great enough to hold all things together without letting them collapse. When you hand your worries over to me, you are not abandoning responsibility. You are placing into the right hands what belonged to me from the very beginning. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. As written in 1 Peter 5:7, then you will begin to realize that spiritual rest does not make you passive, it makes you stronger. A soul resting in me will see more clearly, hear more clearly, and walk more steadily. You will no longer be led by temporary emotions, but guided by wisdom from heaven. Your decisions will no longer rise out of panic, but out of trust. Your words will no longer flow from bitterness, but from gentleness refined through my love. Therefore, my beloved child, when the next storm comes, do not forget this. You are not fighting alone. I have never left you in the middle of the battle. When you stand still in peace, all of heaven knows that your heart is resting in me and not in your circumstances. And it is within that very rest that my power is revealed most strongly. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. As Exodus 14:14 says, let that verse become the breath of your soul today. For there is no darkness great enough to consume the one who is covered by my peace. My beloved child, I never promised that your journey would be free from thunder or seasons of deep darkness. I know there will be times when you hear the winds of adversity howling through your soul, when words of doubt surround your mind like waves trying to drown you in weariness. But what I want you to engrave deeply within your heart is this: the storm has no authority to determine the destiny of one who is rooted in me. A young tree may be easily shaken down by strong winds, but a tree whose roots run deep into the earth grows even stronger through every storm. So it is with you. Every day you seek me. Every time you choose prayer instead of despair. Every moment you decide to trust instead of giving up. All of these are causing the roots of your soul to cling more deeply to eternal life. For he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and will not fear when heat comes. As written in Jeremiah 17:8, you do not stand firm by your own strength, but by the living water of the Holy Spirit, quietly sustaining you even through your driest days. There are miracles I do not perform with thunderous signs, but through quiet changes in things that seem ordinary. When you learn how to rest in the middle of battle, you will begin to see my hand in even the smallest details. Doors that once seemed tightly shut will suddenly open at the appointed time. Words of accusation that once wounded you deeply will slowly lose their power. There are people who once misunderstood you who will eventually come to recognize the truth without you needing to defend yourself. For when I rise to defend you, you no longer need to exhaust your soul arguing with darkness. Like the people of Israel standing before the Red Sea, they believed there was destruction behind them and no way forward ahead. Yet in the very place where there seemed to be no path, I parted the sea and made a road through it. The Lord will fight for you. As Exodus 5:13 declares, my beloved child, there are battles you win not by rushing to fight back, but by standing still and watching my power move on your behalf. I know there will be times when your heart aches because of the coldness of others. There are words that may seem small yet cut deeply into your soul like invisible blades. There are days when you want to explain everything so people will understand you, when you want to defend yourself in order to protect your honor. But I am teaching you a higher way, not the way of weakness, but the way of a soul matured through love. You will learn how to love without demanding immediate return. You will learn how to keep walking even when no one applauds you. You will learn how to protect your light even when others see you only through the darkness within themselves. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. As written in Romans 12:21, this is the kind of victory the world struggles to understand. Yet it is the kind of victory that shakes both heaven and hell. Remember David when King Saul pursued him. David had many opportunities to take revenge. There was even a moment when Saul lay vulnerable before him inside a cave. By human reasoning, it was the perfect opportunity to end the pursuit and reclaim justice for himself. But David did not choose the path of vengeance. He did not allow anger to guide his hand. He understood that if I had chosen him, then I was also powerful enough to protect him without requiring him to stain his soul with bitterness. It was that gentleness that kept David's heart from becoming like the heart of the one who was hurting him. My child, this is also what I want to teach you today. Do not allow the wrongs of others to transform you into someone who loses the light within. Your true battle is not about defeating someone with sharper words. It is the battle to keep your heart from becoming hardened in the midst of pain. It is the battle to remain gentle in a world that celebrates harshness. It is the battle to continue believing in love even after you have been betrayed. The enemy desperately wants to turn your pain into poison within your soul. He wants you to react in anger so that the light inside you becomes clouded. But I'm teaching you to wield a different weapon, gentleness born from faith. For there is great strength in a soul that still knows how to love after being wounded. There is sacred power in a heart that remains soft in the middle of a cold and hardened world. I am not saying that this is easy. Even Jesus wept, was betrayed, mocked, and rejected. Yet, in the midst of all that suffering, he still said, Father, forgive them. As written in Luke 23:34, that was not the surrender of weakness, but the triumph of a love stronger than hatred. When you choose forgiveness instead of clinging to bitterness, you are breaking the chains that darkness longs to place upon your soul. Perhaps today you still do not understand why I allowed certain people to enter your life, only to leave deep wounds within your heart. But the day will come when you look back and realize that those very collisions made you stronger, deeper, and more like me. The people who opposed you may have unknowingly become instruments I used to refine your soul. Just as iron is sharpened into a sword, without trials, you would never know how strong your faith truly is. Without darkness, you would never fully understand the preciousness of light. So today, my beloved child, continue walking forward with peace in your heart. Do not waste your life chasing after the need for everyone to fully understand you. I understand you. Do not lose your gentleness simply because the world has treated you harshly. I am using that very gentleness to heal the souls around you. And do not fear when you feel small in the middle of great battles, for my power is made perfect in weakness. As written in 2 Corinthians 12:9, you do not need to shout in order to prove your light. Simply continue to shine. For true light does not need to argue with darkness in order to prove its existence. It only needs to be present, and the darkness will naturally retreat. My beloved child, many times you look at those who oppose you as walls blocking your path. as hands trying to pull you away from the light I have placed within your life. You wonder why I do not remove them, why I allow harsh words to wound your heart again and again. But child, what your eyes call an obstacle is often the very tool I am using to shape a mature soul within you. A blacksmith does not hate the iron when he places it into the fire. He sees the sword being formed within the heat. In the same way, I do not allow you to walk through trials because I desire your pain, but because I already see the more beautiful image your soul will carry after seasons of refinement. Remember Joseph, who was betrayed by his own brothers. They threw him into a deep pit, sold him like merchandise, and believed they had erased his name from the dream of their lives. Later, he was falsely accused and forgotten in prison for many long years. To naturalize, everything that happened seemed like injustice upon injustice. But my beloved child, the very people who wounded Joseph unknowingly became the hands that pushed him toward the place I had already prepared for him. Without that pit, he would never have gone to Egypt. Out that prison, he would never have met the one who would open the door to his destiny. And one day, standing before his brothers, Joseph was able to say, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." As written in Genesis 50:20. Do you see, child, the very things the world intends to use to destroy you, I can transform into bridges that lead you closer to heaven's purpose for your life. There are souls who know how to love only when love is returned to them. There are hearts that remain gentle only when everything is favorable. But I am teaching you a deeper kind of love, a love that does not depend on how others treat you. When you continue praying for those who speak against you, when you keep your heart soft toward those who misunderstand you, you are reflecting my very heart. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. As written in Matthew 5:44, this is not a teaching meant for the weak, but for souls strong enough not to let darkness determine the way they love. I know there are times when you want to resist, to explain yourself, to prove that you are not wrong. There are nights when your heart aches because the words of others continue echoing in your mind. But child, if you spend your life seeking approval from the world, your soul will remain exhausted. I am leading you to a place where your worth no longer depends on human opinion, but is anchored in my unchanging love. When you truly understand that you are fully known by me and still deeply loved, you will no longer be shaken by every passing judgment. Look at the olive tree upon the rocky hill. It is the strong winds that force its roots to grow deeper into the earth. If the weather were always calm, the roots would remain shallow and weak. So it is with you. The trials you endure are causing your faith to cling more deeply to me. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of bitterness, the roots of your soul grow deeper. Every time you choose peace instead of revenge, I widen your heart a little more so that it can carry greater light. Tribulation produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character. Hope, as written in Romans 5, dry fear. There is no pain I allow to pass through your life that does not carry within it the seed of growth. There is a story that few people often mention, but I want you to hold on to it today. It is the story of Abigail, the wise woman whose husband was Nabal, a harsh and arrogant man. When David became angry because he had been insulted and was preparing to bring his men to take revenge, Abigail chose to step forward with gentleness and wisdom instead of confronting anger with more anger. Her tenderness prevented great bloodshed from taking place. Do you see, child? True strength is not always found in the loudest voice or the fiercest reaction. There are spiritual victories that come only through humility and gentleness guided by me. So today, do not curse your difficult seasons. Do not think that the people who wounded you have ruined my plan for your life. They do not have enough power to do that. What they intended to use to break you down, I will use to build depth within your soul. They thought they were making you weaker. But in truth, I am making you stronger, according to heaven's definition of strength, not hardened through numbness, but tender and still unbroken. My beloved child, the day will come when you look back on everything and give thanks even for those who once made you cry. Not because what they did was right, but because I am powerful enough to use even what was wrong to create something beautiful within you. The words they spoke will become lessons that make you wiser. The wounds they caused will teach you to empathize more deeply with others. The times you were rejected will teach you to seek your worth in me instead of in the world. So instead of holding resentment in your heart, let gratitude rise in the middle of the trial. For even now, I am still working in all things. I am turning pressure into fresh anointing upon your soul. I am turning tears into rivers that water the dry places within your heart. I am using those very painful collisions to refine you into the person I saw from the beginning. We know that all things work together for good to those who love God. As Romans 8:28 declares, let that word become the rock beneath your feet today. And my beloved child, as you continue walking in love instead of bitterness, in peace instead of anger, in trust instead of fear, you will realize something wondrous. No one can truly stop what I have ordained for your life. For my hand is greater than every opposition, and my love for you is deeper than any wound the world has ever caused. My beloved child, when your eyes are still covered by pain, it is easy to see those who have hurt you as enemies trying to destroy your life. But if you allow me to open the eyes of your soul, you will begin to see them in a different way. You will realize that they do not stand outside my sovereign rule. They may think they are controlling the situation, but I am the one who holds the balance of all things. A blacksmith may use fire to refine metal, but the fire is never allowed to go beyond the measure the blacksmith has set. In the same way, the trials around you are never outside my hand. I know exactly how much pressure your soul needs in order to mature without breaking, how much pain it can endure in order to learn deeper love without losing the light within. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. As written in Malachi 3:3, I have never taken my eyes off you in that process, not even for a moment. Do not think that every hardship that comes to you is a sign of punishment. There are seasons when I allow you to pass through fire, not because I am angry, but because I am training your soul for something greater. A soldier does not learn endurance in comfort. A great tree does not grow inside a greenhouse sheltered from the wind, and true faith is not formed in a life without trials. I am teaching you to walk as a child of light in the middle of a chaotic world, so that when others know only how to react with bitterness, you still remain gentle. When others are swept away by anger, you still carry peace. For true victory is not found in making someone else fall, but in the fact that darkness cannot pull your heart away from my love. Remember Stephen, who was stoned in the midst of a crowd filled with hatred. In his most painful hour, he did not curse those who were killing him. Instead, he lifted his eyes toward heaven and asked me to forgive them. That is beyond natural human strength. Only love from heaven can cause a soul to choose forgiveness in the very middle of suffering. And my beloved child, I am teaching you that same strength. When you choose love instead of nurturing resentment, you are reflecting the very nature of heaven. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. As Romans 12:21 declares, that is the kind of victory darkness cannot understand. There will be days when everything around you feels as though it is falling apart. The things you once trusted begin to shake. Doors that once seemed open suddenly close again. The people you love may walk away or turn their backs on you. But my beloved child, do not confuse destruction with rebuilding. A builder must tear down weakened walls before a stronger house can be raised. I am doing the same within your life. There are things I remove not to leave you empty-handed, but to teach you to hold tightly to what can never be taken away, my presence itself. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away, as written in Matthew 24:35. When temporary things are shaken, I am drawing you closer to what is eternal. I know there are times when you try to understand everything through your own reasoning, and it leaves you exhausted. You look at the scattered pieces of your life and cannot understand why things are unfolding this way. You ask why one pain follows another, why the road before you seems covered in so much fog. But my beloved child, your understanding is like someone standing too close to a great painting, able to see only a few disconnected strokes of color. I, however, see the entire masterpiece from beginning to end. What you call chaos today, I see as threads being woven perfectly into place to complete a beautiful tapestry. My thoughts are not your thoughts. Neither are your ways my ways. As written in Isaiah 55:8, this does not mean I want you to live in confusion, but that I want you to learn how to trust even when you cannot yet see the whole picture. There is a story that many people overlook, but I want you to reflect upon it today. It is the story of the potter and the marred vessel Jeremiah saw in the potter's hands. When the vessel became spoiled while it was being shaped, the potter did not throw the clay away. Instead, he used that same clay to form another vessel, more beautiful according to his design. So it is with you. Perhaps you feel your life has been misshapen by wounds, disappointments, and misunderstandings. But in my hands, no part of your life is useless. I can use even what seems broken to create someone deeper, gentler, and more reflective of my image. What matters is not that you were never cracked, but that you remain in the potter's hands. So today, do not fear the pressures coming upon your life. Do not panic when you hear the storm raging around you. If I allow trials to touch you, it also means I have already set their limits. Satan desired to sift Peter like wheat, but I prayed that his faith would not fail. And after he returned, Peter became stronger than before. My beloved child, there are shakings that are not meant to destroy you, but to cause everything not rooted in me to fall away. Therefore, rest in this truth today. I am in control, even of the things you cannot yet understand. Not one of your tears falls unseen by me. Not one word of attack passes beyond the boundaries I allow. No trial is meaningless. I am using all of it to deepen the roots of your soul within my unchanging love. And as you continue walking in peace, forgiveness, and trust, you will slowly begin to realize that the greatest thing I am building is not the circumstances around you, but your very heart. For a soul anchored in me will not be swept away, even if the whole world trembles around it. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91, 1 declares. Let that word become the resting place for your soul today. My beloved child, there are seasons when you lift your eyes toward heaven and encounter only silence. You pray, yet it seems no answer comes. You search for signs, but everything around you feels like an endless haze. And then your heart begins to wonder whether I am still listening. But child, my silence has never been a sign of abandonment. A farmer plants seeds into the ground and waits with patience, because he knows that beneath the dark soil, life is quietly forming. In the same way, there are prayers of yours that are taking root in the unseen realm, even though your eyes cannot yet perceive anything. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarries. Wait for it, because it will surely come. As written in Habakkuk Cox, Colme, what I have promised never dies in silence. It is growing within the timing I have appointed. You often think I move most powerfully when the heavens shake and miracles explode before your eyes. But many times, I do my deepest work within the quiet places. When Elijah hid in the cave, he heard the great wind, the earthquake, and the fire. Yet I was not in those things. Then after all of them came a still, small voice, and there Elijah recognized my presence. My beloved child, I am teaching you to discern between the noise of the world and the voice of the Spirit. There are things I must remove from your life, doors I must close, and seasons of loneliness I must allow. Because if your surroundings are always filled with chaos and noise, you will no longer hear my voice clearly. Silence is not an empty void. It is the place where I realign the compass of your soul so that it points once again toward heaven. I know there are times when you are deeply wounded by what others do to you. There are accusations that pierce your heart like arrows. There are cold looks that make you wonder how human hearts can become so harsh. But remember this, no darkness is hidden from my sight. The eyes of the Lord are in every place. As written in Proverbs 5:3, I see what happens in secret. I know every scheme woven in darkness. And I am a righteous God who will not allow wickedness to remain hidden forever without being brought into the light. But child, when the truth is revealed, I do not want your heart to become hardened with satisfaction at another person's downfall. I do not want you to rejoice over the collapse of others, no matter how deeply they may have hurt you. For you also were once someone in need of grace. You too have been weak, lost, and in need of forgiveness more than you realized. If I opened my arms to you in the darkest days of your soul, then now I desire for that same mercy to reach those who are walking in error through you. Love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. As written in Matthew 5:44, it is the hardest path to walk, yet it is also the path that makes you most like me. Remember Stephen, who was stoned while the crowd shouted against him. As blood and dust covered his body, he still lifted his eyes toward heaven and prayed, Lord, do not charge them with this sin. That prayer, filled with love, echoed through time and touched the soul of Saul, the one who would later become Paul, one of the mightiest apostles of the faith. Do you see, child, sometimes the intercession of the wounded becomes the very doorway of salvation for those who once stood against them. My beloved child, when you pray for those who hurt you, you are not only freeing your own heart from bitterness, but also partnering with me in the redemption of lost souls. I do not rejoice when human beings walk toward destruction. My heart grieves when I see souls chained by pride, anger, and deception. That is why I call you not to nurture revenge within your heart. Revenge allows darkness to begin taking root inside you, but forgiveness preserves the light within your soul from being extinguished. This does not mean you call evil good, nor does it mean you must continue allowing yourself to be trampled endlessly. Forgiveness means placing judgment back into my hands and refusing to let hatred rule your heart. Perhaps today you do not yet realize it, but even in the middle of this season of refinement, I am enlarging your heart in ways that peaceful days never could. I am stretching your capacity to love. I am making your soul deeper, softer, and more like me. True love is not proven only when everything is easy. True love is revealed when you still choose gentleness in the face of rejection, still choose intercession in the midst of misunderstanding, and still keep your heart tender in a world filled with thorns. Love suffers long and is kind. As written in 1 Corinthians 13:4, this is not a weak kind of love, but a strength that comes from heaven itself. There is a story that few people pay attention to, yet I want you to remember it today. The story of Hosea. I told him to love an unfaithful wife, someone who would leave him again and again. It was deeply painful. Yet through that story I revealed, my own heart toward humanity. Even when people continually turn away from me, I still call them back. Even when they are unfaithful, my love still pursues them. My beloved child, when I teach you to love even those who are difficult to love, I am not merely testing you. I am allowing you to touch one of the deepest parts of my own heart. So today, do not fear the silence of this present season. Do not think I have forgotten you simply because heaven has not answered immediately. I am working within what your eyes cannot yet see. I am preparing things that, if they came too soon, you would not yet be mature enough to carry. And while you wait, I am performing the greatest miracle of all, transforming your heart to become more like mine. A soul that knows how to love through pain, pray through misunderstanding, and forgive through betrayal is a soul that darkness cannot defeat. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. As written in Matthew 5:9, let that word become the light that guides you through this season of refinement. My beloved child, do not rush to escape the seasons in which I allow fire to touch your soul. I know your human instinct always seeks comfort and longs to avoid the things that make your heart ache. But there are depths of love that can only be opened in the furnace of endurance. Gold cannot reflect light until it has passed through fire. And your soul cannot fully understand my love until it has walked through days that seem beyond your strength. I do not lead you into such places to exhaust you, but to strip away the layers of fear, selfishness, and self-protection that have long surrounded your heart. I am teaching you to love in the way of heaven, not only when love is returned, not only to remain gentle when everything is favorable, but to keep your heart tender, even in pain. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. As written in John 15:13, true love always carries sacrifice within it. And it is through that sacrifice that you will understand me more deeply than through any sermon or spoken word. There are nights when all you can do is sit in silence, without strength left for long prayers, without words sufficient to express the weariness within you. But my beloved child, even when your lips can say nothing, your heart is still crying out to me, and I hear every sigh. I see the silent battles no one else knows about. I see the moments when you bite your lip to keep yourself from weeping in front of others. I see the fears you hide behind your calm appearance. But remember this, the darkness around you is not always a sign that I am absent. Many times, I use that very night like a cloak to shield you from things you are not yet strong enough to face. Remember the people of Israel when I led them out of Egypt. By day I guided them with a pillar of cloud, and by night with a pillar of fire, even in the darkest nights of the wilderness. The sign of my presence was still there. In the same way, my beloved child, there are times when you do not realize that I am moving. But that does not mean I have stopped protecting you. There are countless things I have prevented before they ever reached your life. There are doors I quietly closed to spare you from greater pain. There are words meant to shatter your soul, yet I caused them to lose their power. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. As written in Psalm 91:4, those with you, not for a single day. My beloved child, this world is filled with voices that distract your soul. The voice of anxiety, the voice of pressure, the voice of comparison and judgment. They speak constantly until you begin to forget the rhythm of peace that comes from me. But even when you can no longer hear my voice clearly, I am still very near, like a father sitting beside the bed of his feverish child throughout the night. Even while the child drifts in and out of awareness and does not realize the father is still there. So it is with me. There are seasons when you cannot clearly feel my presence. Yet I have never left your side. He shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. As Psalm 91 once declares, This is not an empty symbolic image. Heaven is truly moving around your life far more than you realize. There have been times when you escaped danger without understanding why. There have been sudden instincts that caused you to stop at exactly the right moment. There have been moments when your soul was kept from collapsing, even under unbearable pressure. My beloved child, these things are not accidents. My heavenly hosts are still guarding you in the unseen realm. There is a story that few people reflect upon deeply enough, the story of Elisha and his servant when enemy armies surrounded the city. The servant was terrified because all he could see were horses and soldiers of the enemy covering the land around them. But Elisha prayed that the servant's eyes would be opened. And when his spiritual eyes were enlightened, he saw the mountain filled with horses and chariots of fire, with the armies of heaven surrounding them. My beloved child, many times you are like that servant. You see only what is standing against you and forget what is standing guard around you. But the truth remains. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. As written in Swy King Zexine. So do not allow fear to pull you away from the very place where I am refining your soul. Do not run from the seasons that teach you patience, forgiveness, and deeper love. It is in those very places that I am enlarging your heart to carry greater light. I am teaching you to love through action and not merely through passing emotion. I am teaching you to stand firm in pain and still be able to say, Father, I trust that you are still good, and my beloved child. That confession echoes through heaven more powerfully than you realize. I know there are moments when you feel weak, but never forget that true strength is not found in never trembling with fear, but in continuing to trust even while trembling. When you keep walking forward, though, tears still rest upon your cheeks. When you continue praying, though your heart is still filled with questions. When you choose not to let go of my hand, though everything around you feels chaotic, that is, when your faith becomes more precious than refined gold. After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you. As written in 1 Peter 5, Zane. So today, rest peacefully within my embrace. Do not think you are alone in this battle. Every whispered prayer of yours is heard. Every tear is held tenderly by me. Not one step you take is walked without my presence beside you. And the day will come when you look back upon this road filled with shadows, with eyes overflowing with gratitude, because you will realize that the very place where you thought you had been forgotten was actually the place where I held you closest. My beloved child, while I am building a hedge of protection around your life, I am also teaching you something even deeper to guard the doorway of your own soul. For many times, what exhausts you is not only what comes from the outside, but what quietly grows within your heart without you realizing it. The adversary does not always come with loud cries or dramatic events. Many times he comes as a whisper of anxiety, a small flame of resentment, or a thought that causes you to doubt your own worth. And if these things are not brought beneath my light, they will slowly wear down your spirit like a house rotting from within. Therefore, my child, stay watchful. When fear begins knocking at the door of your mind, do not allow it to sit down and rule your heart. Remind your soul that I am nearer to you than your very breath. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to God. As written in Philippians 4:6, I do not want you to fight through the panic of the flesh, but through the rest that comes from faith. There are battles you will not win by trying to control everything, but by kneeling down and allowing your heart to be anchored in my presence. I know there are times when you do not understand why I remain silent concerning the things you earnestly ask for. There are doors you have wept over, pleading for me to open, yet I still leave them closed. There are dreams you believed were beautiful, yet I delay them for a long time. And in those seasons, You think I am taking away something precious from you, but my beloved child, there are requests which, if I answered immediately according to your desire, would become burdens too heavy for your soul to carry. There are things that appear to be blessings but would actually draw you away from the light I intended for your life. A good father does not give a child everything he demands, especially when he knows it would cause harm. So it is with me. For I know the plans I have for you, plans of peace and not of evil. As written in Jeremiah 29:11, even my delays carry mercy within them. Remember Israel in the wilderness. The people often complained because the long journey through the desert seemed meaningless and exhausting. They did not understand why I did not lead them into the promised land by a shorter road. But I knew that if they entered battle too soon, fear would overwhelm them and they would run back toward Egypt. So I led them through the wilderness not to torment them, but to prepare them. In the same way, there are detours in your life that are actually protection. I am saving you from things you are not yet mature enough to face. My beloved child, my protection does not always appear as dazzling miracles in the heavens. Many times it comes in forms you call disappointment. Sometimes it is a door closing at exactly the right moment. Sometimes it is a relationship ending and leaving you in pain. Sometimes it is a delay that tests your patience. But the day will come when you look back and realize those very things saved you from dangers you never saw ahead. I am like the shadow of a great rock in a burning desert. The one standing in the shade may think he is merely hidden from the sunlight. But in truth, that very shadow is preserving his life from collapse. There is a story I want you to remember today, the story of Jonah upon the ship in the midst of a great storm. Jonah thought everything was falling apart. Yet that storm was the very instrument I used to bring him back to the right path. And later, when he found himself inside the belly of the great fish in the darkest place imaginable, it seemed like destruction. But in truth, it was where I preserved his life. My beloved child, many times what appears to be confinement is actually protection. There are seasons when I lead you into quiet places, not to abandon you, but to heal you and redirect the course of your soul. Never forget that I also heal you in moments of rest. The world teaches you that you must always be strong, always running, always proving your worth through achievement. But I know the limits of your body and soul. There are times when your exhaustion is not a sign of weakness, but a reminder that you need to return and hide yourself in me. Even Elijah, after triumphing over the prophets of Baal, became so weary that he wanted to die. And the first thing I did was not rebuke him, but allow him to rest and be nourished. Do you see? My beloved child, even the strongest souls need to be restored within my love. So today, do not be afraid when you cannot see the entire road ahead of you. You can only see the next small step, but I see the end of the journey. You see scattered fragments of your life, but I see the complete picture slowly unfolding. For we walk by faith, not by sight. As written in 2 Corinthians 5-7, true faith is not when you understand everything, but when you continue to trust even without understanding. And my beloved child, when you begin to believe that I am still protecting you, even in your darkest seasons, your soul will enter into a new depth of peace. Then peace will no longer be merely a feeling of comfort that comes and goes with circumstances. It will become my living presence within you, steadier than fear, deeper than every chaos, stronger than every unknown, not because you can see the whole path, but because you know that the one holding your hand will never let go. My beloved child, if you would pause for a moment now and look back upon the road you have already traveled, you would realize how many times you thought you could not continue, yet I still carried you through. There were nights when your soul sank into such darkness that you believed dawn would never return. There were days when you walked with trembling feet, carrying wounds no one else could see. But child, even in those moments, I never left you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. As written in Isaiah 43:1, I know every pain you tried to hide behind your smile. I know every sigh you held within when you no longer had enough words to pray, and every tear that fell from your eyes. I saw it as a father sees his child struggling through a long night. You believed you passed through those seasons alone. But in truth, I was quietly walking beside you through every darkest stretch of the road. When you fell and thought no one could understand your exhaustion, I was there lifting your soul again. When you cried out to me in the middle of the storm with a voice so weak it was nearly extinguished, all of heaven listened. There were battles in the unseen realm you never witnessed, where I sent angels to surround your life so that darkness could not touch what I had determined to preserve. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him. As written in Psalm 34:7, my beloved child, many times you thought your escape from danger was mere coincidence, but it was truly my hand covering you. And now, as you look back, you will begin to understand that not every loss was destruction. There were things I removed from your hands because I knew that if you continued holding on to them, they would dry out your soul. There were doors I closed because behind them was not peace, but wandering and confusion. And what you once called an ending became the beginning of a new season you never would have dared to imagine. Like Naomi returning to Bethlehem with empty hands and a bitter heart after losing everything, she believed her life had become nothing but ashes. Yet from that very place of loss, I began writing a story of restoration beyond anything she could comprehend. And through that lineage, the path toward the Savior was opened. My beloved child, many times, what I am doing is far greater than what your eyes can presently see. I do not lead you through seasons of refinement so that you will remain trapped in pain forever. I lead you through them in order to transform you. And now, you are no longer the same person you once were. The wounds you carry are no longer symbols of failure, but testimonies of healing. The places that once hurt most deeply within your soul have now become the places where my light shines most brightly. My power is made perfect in weakness. As written in 2 Corinthians 12:9, you once believed weakness was something shameful, but I have used that very fragility to reveal my power and my mercy. My beloved child, true peace is not a life without fierce winds. True peace is when you learn how to hear my voice in the middle of those winds. It is not the absence of suffering, but my presence within that suffering. The world searches for peace in money, in certainty, in the approval of others. But my peace is not built upon things that can so easily change. It is built upon my eternal faithfulness. Therefore, when everything around you trembles and yet your heart does not collapse, it is a sign that your soul has begun anchoring itself in me instead of anchoring itself in the world. Remember the house built upon the rock that Jesus spoke about. The rain fell, the floods rose, and the winds beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because its foundation had been laid upon solid rock. So it is with you. I did not remove every storm from your life, but I used those very storms to build within you a foundation that cannot be shaken. Upon the ruins of old brokenness, I am laying new stones, stones of faith refined through testing, gratitude born in adversity, humility learned through tears, and love that still remains after suffering. That temple is your soul, and I dwell within it. There is a story I want you to remember today, the story of the woman at the well. She lived with a past filled with brokenness and shame, so much so that she came to the well during the quietest hour of the day to avoid the eyes of others. Yet in the very place where she thought only emptiness remained, I met her and gave her living water. After that encounter, The woman who once hid from people became the one who ran to tell an entire city. Do you see, my beloved child? I do not heal you merely so you may have peace for yourself alone. I heal you so that through you, other souls may also find hope. So today, look around your life with new eyes. The sky, once covered with dark clouds, is beginning to open. Rivers you thought had run dry are beginning to flow again. And you, the one who once trembled, the one who thought you would never survive, have now become a place through which my peace can reach others. You are not merely someone rescued from darkness. You are becoming a lamp for those still wandering through the night. The words of comfort you offer others will carry healing oil because they were born from your own tears. God comforts us in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort others. As written in 2 Corinthians 1:4, and my beloved child, this is only the beginning. What I am building within you is far more beautiful than you can yet imagine. One day, you will look back upon this entire journey and realize that not a single tear was wasted, not a single wound forgotten, and not a single dark night lasted forever. All of it has been working together to form a soul that loves more deeply, believes more strongly, and reflects my light more clearly. Rest in that love today. For I, your Father, have never stopped holding your hand from the very beginning. My beloved child, I did not bring you out of darkness simply so you could spend the rest of your days remembering your rescue. I led you through the fire so that your very life could become light for those who are still lost in the night. Nothing you have endured has been meaningless. Every tear, every season of waiting, every storm that once made you tremble is now becoming holy oil poured upon your soul, so that when you touch another life, they encounter not merely a person, but my peace living within you. You are the light of the world. As written in Matthew 5:14, that light does not come from your own strength, but from allowing me to walk through every hidden corner of your soul and transform the places that were once broken into places that now reflect my glory. There will be people who meet you without ever knowing the story behind your smile. They will never know how many nights you spent weeping, how deeply you battled fear, or how lost you once felt. But because you walked through those things with me, your words now carry life. When you comfort a soul drowning in despair, they will feel a gentleness that does not come from knowledge alone, but from wounds that have truly been healed within you. When you pray for someone who has fallen, your prayer will carry the weight of real experience. My beloved child, I did not heal you merely so you could keep peace for yourself. I healed you so that through you, that peace could reach other souls longing for hope. Remember the Samaritan woman at the well. She carried deep shame and hidden brokenness within her, so much so that she avoided people altogether. Yet after only one encounter with me, the woman who once hid herself in darkness became the very one who ran throughout the city, proclaiming that she had met the giver of life. Do you see? My beloved child, I often choose souls that have been wounded to become sources of comfort for others. For the one who has walked through the desert knows how to lead the thirsty toward the river. So today, lift up your head. My child, do not continue living as though you are still chained to your past. The old season has passed away. The days when fear controlled your life are no longer your identity. I do not call you by your former failures, nor by the mistakes that once filled you with shame. I call you my beloved child. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. As written in 2 Corinthians 5:17, you no longer have to wander everywhere searching for peace, because my peace has now taken root within your very soul. There is a story I want you to hold close today, the story of Gideon. When I called him, he was hiding in the winepress because he feared the enemy. He saw himself as the weakest in his father's house. Yet I called him a mighty man of valor. Gideon could not see what I saw within him. And so it is with you, my beloved child. Perhaps you still see yourself through old memories, through the days when you stumbled, through moments of confusion and doubt. But I see something far greater. I see a soul refined through fire without being destroyed. I see someone who will rise and carry light into places where others have already surrendered. When the world once again becomes filled with the noise of chaos, when old echoes try to pull you back into fear and unrest, do not tremble anymore. Simply smile within, my peace. For now you have discovered the secret that many people still have not found. Peace does not come from peaceful circumstances, but from my presence within your heart. The winds may still blow and trials may still remain, but your soul is no longer ruled by them. Just as Paul and Silas sang songs in prison while surrounded by chains and suffering, you too will learn how to keep the flame of peace burning brightly even in places that seem darkest. And that very song will shake the invisible prisons surrounding the lives of others. I do not send you forward in your own strength. I go with you. Everywhere your feet walk, my presence is there also. When you speak gently to a broken soul, it is I touching them through you. When you choose forgiveness instead of resentment, it is my mercy being revealed through your heart. When you stand firm in peace in the midst of chaos, you become a living testimony that light is stronger than darkness. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. As written in Matthew 5:9, you are not merely someone rescued from the storm. You are becoming a refuge for those still trapped in the raging sea. My beloved child, your journey does not end in darkness. Darkness is only the curtain I use to make the light I am forming within you shine more clearly. The things that once filled you with fear will now become evidence of my power. The places that were once broken will become wells of healing for others. And the peace you now carry is no longer fragile or dependent upon favorable circumstances. It is the peace of a soul that has walked through fire, through tears, through long nights, and still found me waiting at the end of the road. So walk forward, my child, not with eyes cast downward in shame, but with a heart filled with confidence, not as one still pursued by darkness, but as one carrying the light of heaven. Let the world look upon you and remember what it has long forgotten, that true peace truly exists, not as a fragile idea, but as the living presence of God within the human soul. And when you hear my voice calling from the depths of your heart, remember these words, my child, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. From the very beginning until the very end of the journey, I have never stopped holding your hand. My beloved child, I did not bring you out of darkness simply so you could spend the rest of your days remembering your rescue. I led you through the fire so that your very life could become light for those who are still lost in the night. Nothing you have endured has been meaningless. Every tear, every season of waiting, every storm that once made you tremble is now becoming holy oil poured upon your soul, so that when you touch another life, they encounter not merely a person, they encounter my peace living within you. You are the light of the world. As written in Matthew 5:14, that light does not come from your own strength, but from allowing me to walk through every hidden corner of your soul and transform the places that were once broken into places that now reflect my glory. There will be people who meet you without ever knowing the story behind your smile. They will not know how many nights you cried, how deeply you wrestled with fear, or how lost you once felt. But because you have walked through those things with me, your words now carry life. When you comfort a soul in despair, they will feel a gentleness that does not come from books, but from the wounds that have been healed within you. When you pray for someone who is falling apart, that prayer will carry the weight of real experience. My beloved child, I did not heal you so that you could keep peace only for yourself. I healed you so that through you, that peace might touch other souls who are longing for hope. Remember the Samaritan woman at the well. She once carried shame and hidden brokenness so deeply that she avoided everyone. But after just one encounter with me, the woman who had once hidden herself in darkness became the one who ran through the city to proclaim that she had met the giver of life. Do you see? I often choose the very souls that have been wounded to become sources of comfort for others. For the one who has walked through the desert knows how to lead the thirsty to the river. So today, lift up your head. My child, do not continue living as someone still chained to the past. The old season has passed away. The days when fear controlled you are no longer your identity. I do not call you by your former failures, nor by the mistakes that once made you ashamed. I call you my beloved child. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. As written in 2 Corinthians 5:17, you no longer need to run everywhere searching for peace, because my peace has now taken root within your very soul. There is a story I want you to hold on to today, the story of Gideon. When I called him, he was hiding in the winepress because he feared the enemy. He saw himself as the weakest in his father's house, but I called him a mighty man of valor. Gideon did not see what I saw in him, and it is the same with you, my beloved child. Perhaps you still see yourself through old memories, through the days when you fell, through the times when you were confused and full of doubt. But I see something far greater. I see a soul refined by fire yet not consumed. I see someone who will rise and carry light into places where others have given up. When the world is once again filled with the noise of chaos, when old echoes try to pull you back into fear and unrest, do not tremble anymore. Simply smile in my peace. For now you understand the secret that many still have not found. Peace does not come from calm circumstances, but from my presence within your heart. The wind may still blow, and trials may still remain, but your soul is no longer ruled by them. Just as Paul and Silas sang in the prison, in the midst of chains and pain, you too will learn to keep the flame of peace burning brightly, even in places that seem darkest. And that very song will shake the invisible prisons around the lives of others. I do not send you out in your own strength. I go with you. Wherever your feet step, I am present there also. When you speak a gentle word to a broken soul, it is I touching them through you. When you forgive instead of holding resentment, it is my mercy being revealed through your heart. When you stand firm in peace amid chaos, you become a living testimony that light is stronger than darkness. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. As written in Matthew 5:9, you are not only someone rescued from the storm, you are becoming a shelter for those still trapped in the raging sea. My beloved child, your journey does not end in darkness. Darkness is only the curtain I use to make the light I am forming within you shine more clearly. The things that once filled you with fear will now become evidence of my power. The places that were once broken will become springs of healing for others. And the peace you now carry is no longer something fragile that depends upon favorable circumstances. It is the peace of a soul that has walked through fire, through tears, through long nights, and still found me at the end of the road. So walk forward, my child, not with eyes cast downward in shame, but with a heart full of conviction, not like one still pursued by darkness, but like one carrying the light of heaven. Let the world look upon you and remember what it has long forgotten, that true peace truly exists, not as a fragile idea, but as the living presence of God within the human soul. And when you hear my voice calling from the deepest place within your heart, remember these words: my child, I am with you always. even to the end of the age. My beloved child, do not let your heart tremble when I speak of the court of heaven. Many hear the word judgment and think only of wrath and punishment. But my heart is not like the cold judgment of the world. When I sit upon the throne of righteousness, I do not come as one seeking opportunities to condemn you, but as a father seeking to rescue his child from the chains of darkness. My justice is not only about exposing what is wrong, my justice is also about healing what has been crushed, restoring what has been stolen, and calling weary souls back into the light. For the Lord loves justice and does not forsake his saints. As written in Psalm 37:28, my beloved child, my righteousness always walks hand in hand with mercy. There have been nights when you wept in silence and no one knew. There have been injustices you carried in your heart for so long that you began to think no one could see them anymore. The world may forget your cries, but heaven does not. Every tear you have shed is treasured by me. Every sigh of your soul is remembered before my throne. You have kept count of my tossings, put my tears in your bottle. As written in Psalm 56:8, my beloved child, not one pain you have endured is invisible to me. When the court of heaven speaks, it is not to crush you beneath the weight of your past, but to break the accusations that have clung to your soul for far too long. There have been voices from the world that made you believe you were not good enough, not worthy enough, no longer deserving of another beginning. There have been old mistakes that became invisible chains pulling you downward whenever you tried to move forward. But today I say to you, the verdict of heaven is not like the condemnation of the world. If you return to me with a sincere heart, I no longer call you by your failures. I call you by the new identity my love prepared for you long before you fell. Remember the woman caught in adultery. The crowd dragged her before Jesus with stones already in their hands, waiting for a sentence of destruction. According to human law, she deserved condemnation. But while every eye filled with scorn was fixed upon her, Jesus bent down and said, "He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone at her first." And one by one, they quietly walked away. Then he looked at the woman and said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." As written in John 8:11. Do you see? My beloved child, my justice does not deny sin, but neither does it abandon the soul to destruction. I expose what is wrong in order to rescue, not to destroy. There have been times when you stood alone in the midst of misunderstanding and opposition, forced to suffer in silence while others spoke falsely about you. I saw it all. I saw the moments when you wanted to fight back but chose instead to guard your heart from bitterness. I saw the times when you forgave, even while your heart was breaking. The world may never understand those quiet sacrifices, but heaven has recorded every one of them. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. As written in Matthew 5:10, not one act of your faithfulness has been forgotten before my throne. But my beloved child, when I defend you, do not allow your heart to become proud or filled with the desire for revenge. I do not rescue you so that you may rise up and condemn others. I rescue you so that you may understand mercy more deeply. You yourself once needed grace. You too were once weak and wandering. If I did not turn my face away from you in your darkest days, then today I also desire for your heart to learn how to open itself toward others. For the heart that truly touches the justice of heaven is a heart that both loves truth and carries mercy within it. I know there are wounds within you so deep that you believe you will live beneath their shadow forever. But today, I am rewriting your story. The places that once carried the marks of shame will become testimonies of healing. The things that once caused you to bow your head will become witnesses of my restoring power. Like Job, who after seasons of painful loss finally saw me in a deeper way than before. You too will realize that I never abandoned your life among the ashes. After he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold. As written in Job 23, saying, My beloved child, the court of heaven is not the place where your hope ends. It is the place where truth is revealed, so that freedom may begin. It is the place where invisible chains are broken apart. It is the place where I call you out of the darkness of shame and into the light of a new identity. When I speak over your life, the final word does not belong to condemnation, but to redemption. So today, lift up your head. Do not live as someone still being judged by your past. If I have opened the prison doors and led you out of the chains of sin and fear, then do not go back and embrace those old chains again. There is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. As written in Romans 8:9, let those words sink deeply into your soul. For I have not only saved you from evil, I am rebuilding you into a temple of peace, truth, and love that never departs. My beloved child, many people think justice is only about giving the appropriate response to wrongdoing. But my justice goes far deeper than that. The justice of the world often stops at punishment, but the justice of heaven begins with restoration. When I speak over your life, I do not merely change the circumstances around you. I reach into the deepest places of your soul and recreate you from within. For I do not desire merely to rescue you from pain. I desire to make you new. Behold, I make all things new. As written in Revelation 21:5, my beloved child. Those words are not only a distant promise reserved for some far-off day, they are already beginning within your very heart today. There are people who have carried wounds for so long that they believe pain itself has become their identity. There are souls so accustomed to living beneath the shadows of betrayal, accusation, and failure that they no longer remember what freedom feels like. But I did not come merely to patch together broken lives for a moment. I came to bring rebirth. Just as Ezekiel saw the valley full of dry bones and believed all hope had died, when my word was spoken, the breath of life began moving through the place that seemed filled only with ashes. Dry bones joined together. Flesh was restored, and an army rose up from what had once been called hopeless. So it is with you, my beloved child. There are parts of you that may seem dead because of disappointment, shame, and years of pain. But my word still carries the power to call life back again. Therefore, do not allow your heart to be drawn into the thirst for revenge. I know there are times when you long to see justice happen immediately before your eyes. There are wounds that naturally make the human heart want to reclaim what was lost through its own strength. But child, if you cling to resentment, your soul will grow heavy beneath a burden you were never created to carry. I never called you to become the judge of others. I am the righteous judge, and my hand never fails. Vengeance is mine. I will repay. As written in Romans 12:9, saying, when you lay revenge down at my feet, you are not being weak. You are trusting that I am righteous enough to do what is right in the right time. But understand this deeply. My beloved child, even my judgment is covered with mercy. I do not delight in the downfall of any soul. When I expose falsehood, it is so that truth may bring freedom. When I shine light into darkness, it is so that the lost may have the opportunity to return to the light. Like the father who ran to embrace the prodigal son while he was still far away, so I do not stand waiting to crush the one who returns in failure. I open my arms to restore their identity. My beloved child, this is the heartbeat of heaven, justice written in love. There is a story that few people reflect upon deeply enough, but I want you to remember it today. It is the story of Zacchaeus, the tax collector, despised by the entire city because of his dishonesty. People looked at him only through the eyes of condemnation. But when I entered the city, I did not call him by his sins. I called him down from the sycamore tree and entered his house. It was that love that melted his heart, causing him to willingly restore what he had wrongly taken and completely change his life. Do you see? My beloved child, many times what transforms a soul is not harsh punishment, but a true encounter with mercy. So today, let your heart rest before my voice. Do not try to fix everything through your own strength or through anger. Let your tears fall as a gentle surrender before me, for I see every one of those tears, and I will not allow them to fall in vain. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. As written in Psalm 126:5, there are seeds of peace that can only be planted through the tears of trust. I am softening the places within your heart that have become hardened through disappointment. I am touching the hidden corners you once concealed because you were afraid of being seen. And instead of condemning you, I am healing you. For a broken heart does not cause me to turn away. Rather, the hearts that know they need me most are the very places where I desire to dwell most deeply. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. As written in Psalm 34:18, and the day will come when the dawn of my justice rises upon your life like the sun after a long night. The things that were once distorted will be made clear. Lies will vanish like mist before the light. Your honor will not be restored through human praise, but through the affirmation that comes from me, and even more wondrous than that. When you look back upon the brokenness of the past, you will no longer see it as evidence of failure. You will see it as the place where I entered in and transformed darkness into light. My beloved child, the final chapter of your life is not condemnation. It is renewal, not ashes, but beauty rising from ashes. Not shame, but freedom. Not despair, but new life born from grace. And as you walk in that light, the world will look at you and realize that only God can take a soul once shattered and transform it into a dwelling place of peace. My beloved child, engrave this deeply within your soul. My justice is not like the fragile judgments of the world. It does not bend before power, bow to wealth, or change according to the voice of the crowd. Humanity may call light darkness and exalt falsehood as truth. But before my throne, every mask falls away. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne. As written in Psalm 89:14, my beloved child, where I reign, there is no favoritism and no distortion of truth, because my very nature is eternal truth. When you look around and see the world shaking under injustice, do not let your heart panic. There were empires that once believed themselves invincible, yet they crumbled like dust before the wind. There were thrones of men that once caused nations to tremble, yet they faded into forgotten history. But I remain. Before the mountains were formed, I existed. After heaven and earth pass away, I will still be the one who never changes. Therefore, my justice does not depend on changing times or human opinion. It stands firm like the sunrise that needs no permission to rise each morning. Look at the dawn, my beloved child. Night may linger and make you think light has disappeared forever, but dawn has never failed to come. It does not arrive earlier than its appointed time, nor does it come 1 second too late. So it is with my justice. There are moments when you pray and heaven still seems silent. Moments when evil appears to triumph temporarily, and your heart grows weary from waiting. But I have not forgotten. I am working in ways your eyes cannot yet see. The vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarries. Wait for it. As written in Habakkuk Cox, Colme, what I have ordained will come to pass, and no power can stop it. Do not fear my voice, for my voice is not meant to crush you. Many people tremble at the thought of judgment because they understand justice only as the sword of punishment. But, my beloved child, when my voice touches your soul, It is like light entering a room that has been closed in darkness for far too long. At first, your eyes may ache from seeing the truth, but it is that very light that heals you. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. As written in Psalm 119, 105, my voice does not come to destroy you, but to lead you out of the darkness that has kept you bound in invisible chains. There are people who cry out for justice while their hearts remain filled with bitterness. They want me to take revenge on their behalf. They long to see others brought low so their own pain may be soothed. But today I say to you, the justice of heaven does not begin by looking at the sins of others. It begins by allowing my light to shine into your own heart. For if your soul remains filled with resentment, you will never be able to carry my peace into the world. I did not call you to become one who carries the hammer of condemnation. I called you to become a lamp that shines with love and truth. Remember Jonah. He longed to see the city of Nineveh destroyed because of their wickedness. But when the people repented, I chose mercy instead of wrath. Jonah became angry because he desired justice according to his own understanding. Yet I wanted to teach him that mercy is greater than revenge. My beloved child, many times you see only the wrong actions of others and fail to see the fear, the lostness, and the darkness imprisoning them from within. But I see it all. I see not only the sin, but also the wounds that led them into that sin. My justice is not a cold and emotionless scale. It is the heart of a father who understands every soul completely. I see the tears of the one trying desperately to hide their weakness. I hear the sighs of those who have lost their way and no longer know how to return home. I know the silent battles the world never sees. And when I judge, I do not look only at outward actions, but also at the hidden motives within the human heart. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart, as written in 1 Samuel 16:7. There is a story that few people reflect upon deeply enough, the story of the thief on the cross beside Jesus. In the eyes of the world, he was only a criminal deserving death. No one expected goodness from a man being crucified for his own sins. Yet, in his final moments, when he turned and cried out for mercy, Jesus answered him, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Do you see? My beloved child, the justice of heaven does not ignore sin, but neither does it reject a soul willing to return. Even at the furthest edge of failure, my mercy can still open the door to redemption. So today, let your heart soften beneath my light. Do not ask me only to change the world while forgetting to let me transform you. For when your soul is healed, you will begin to see others through the eyes of heaven rather than through your own wounds. You will learn how to stand for truth without losing love. You will learn how to hold on to righteousness without becoming bitter. And through your life, others will begin to see that true justice is not a crushing force, but a light powerful enough to transform even what was once buried in darkness. My beloved child, rest in this truth. My throne still stands firm. Truth is still alive. Light is still advancing no matter how long the night may seem. And when my justice rises like the dawn, it will not only expose darkness, it will lead lost souls back home. My beloved child, I still remember the early days when you walked through life with a heart soft and open like a field, welcoming the first rain of the season. You offered your trust sincerely, without calculation and without building walls around yourself. You looked upon others with hopeful eyes, believing in promises the way one believes the sun will always rise after the night. I saw the times you quietly carried others, even while your own soul was weary. I saw the nights you prayed for those who had hurt you, even while your heart was still bleeding. But the world is not always gentle with hearts that know how to love. There were hands that once held yours, only to let go in the middle of the storm. There were words that once comforted you that later became shards of glass beneath your feet. And my beloved child, I know exactly where your soul quietly began to crack. There are wounds other people never see because you learned how to smile to hide the pain. There are silent places within your heart that even those closest to you could never fully understand. But I understand. When you sat alone trying to stitch your heart back together with fragile strength, I was there. When you tried to appear strong while inside you were nearly exhausted, I still heard your soul trembling in silence. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. As written in Psalm 34:18, my beloved child, your pain has never been invisible before. When the world did not understand your story, I still remembered every detail. I remember the times you were misunderstood and could not explain yourself. I remember the nights you held disappointment like a cold stone within your chest. Others may quickly forget the wounds they caused you, but heaven does not forget. You have kept my tears in your bottle. As written in Psalm 56:8, not one tear you have shed has fallen without being treasured by me. But today, my beloved child, I do not want only to pull you out of your pain. I want to lead you through it so that your soul may become deeper and freer. For there are people who escape their wounds yet continue living in fear forever. I do not want you to become like that. I am teaching you to discern the difference between true love and agreement with what harms your soul. Many times you believed that love meant enduring everything without condition, allowing others to cross your boundaries again and again. But my love is not permission for darkness to continue destroying you. Look at the garden I planted. That garden has fences not because it lacks love, but because precious things must be protected. In the same way, I am teaching you to establish holy boundaries around your soul. Forgiveness does not mean reopening the door for evil to continue entering your life. Forgiveness means releasing your heart from the chains of bitterness. While wisdom teaches you which gates must remain closed so that peace may be preserved. Even Jesus loved everyone. Yet he did not entrust his heart to all people, because he knew what was within the human heart. My beloved child, there are distances I allow not to make you cold, but to teach you how to love through truth instead of through exhaustion. I know there were moments when you longed for justice to come immediately. You wanted every wrong to be corrected today. But if justice comes while your heart is still bleeding from wounds, it becomes the blade of bitterness instead of the hand of healing. That is why I choose to heal you first, before dealing with everything else. The order of heaven is always this: love opens the way for justice. And justice protects love so that it will not be twisted into hatred. Remember David, when Saul hunted him down, he had many opportunities for revenge. Yet I did not allow him to ascend the throne with hands stained by resentment. Before I entrusted the kingdom to David, I first had to heal his heart from bitterness. Otherwise, the throne would have become a place that nourished darkness within him instead of reflecting my light. So it is with you. My beloved child, I care not only that you are vindicated, I care that your soul remains soft after everything you have endured. There is a story few people reflect upon deeply enough, the story of Ruth. When Naomi lost everything and believed her life had become nothing but ashes, she called herself Mara, meaning bitterness. Yet in the very place she thought was the end, I was quietly planting seeds for a new future. From the wheat fields where Ruth bent down to gather the leftover grain, I began building a lineage that would lead to the Savior. Do you see? My beloved child, there are places others consider wastelands that I transform into gardens, enclosed and tended by my own hands. So, today, do not be ashamed that your heart was once broken. Those cracks do not make you worth less. On the contrary, they are the very places where my light enters most deeply. What others thought would bury you, I will turn into the foundation stones for something new. The moments when people turned away from you were not the end of your story. Many times they were the moments when I was pulling you away from places no longer aligned with the destiny I prepared for you. And the day will come when you look back upon this entire journey with eyes that have been healed. You will understand that I never abandoned the work I began in your life. The very places that once held ashes will produce the fruit of peace. The places once filled with weeping will resound with thanksgiving. And you will realize that behind you, even in the moments when you believed, only darkness remained, the sun of righteousness was already rising, little by little. My beloved child, I am still who I have always been, full of mercy, full of truth, and never forgetting what belongs to me. Therefore, rest within that love today. For the same hand that carried you through every painful season will also be the hand that leads you into the season of restoration I have long prepared for your soul. My beloved child, I do not want the wounds of yesterday to turn your heart into a locked room where no light can enter anymore. I know there were times when you loved with all the sincerity you possessed, only to receive silent wounds that exhausted your soul. I know there were moments when you promised yourself you would never open your heart again because you feared being hurt once more. But my beloved child, do not allow the darkness of others to steal the precious gift I placed within you from the beginning. The softness of your heart is not something shameful. It is evidence of my image within you. What I desire is not to make you cold so you can no longer be wounded, but to clothe your love with wisdom. You will learn how to love without losing yourself. You will learn how to open your heart without allowing others to define your worth. You will learn how to establish holy boundaries without becoming bitter. For true love is neither blind nor closed off. It is like a river flowing strongly while still having banks that keep its waters from overflowing and destroying everything around it. My beloved child, I am teaching you to stand where love and justice meet, where the heart remains gentle, yet is no longer swept away by every storm of emotion and human words. Remember that my justice has never been separated from mercy. The world often imagines justice as a cold sword, a harsh punishment reserved for wrongdoing. But the justice of heaven carries the heartbeat of a father's heart. When I bend down toward your life, I do not come as a judge searching for faults in order to condemn, but as the one wiping tears from the trembling face of his child. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. As written in Psalm 103:8, my justice is only fully complete when it leads the soul back into life. My beloved child, there are seasons when I allow you to walk through brokenness, not to destroy you, but to open your eyes to my hand in the midst of the ruins. There are truths you only discover when every piece of your own strength has been stripped away and you finally realize that I alone am the true foundation beneath your feet. Look at the cross. It is the place where justice and love embraced each other. Justice required that the price of sin be paid, but love stepped forward and said, "Let me carry it." My beloved child, this is the heartbeat of heaven. I do not deny what is wrong, but I choose redemption over destruction. God demonstrates his love toward us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. As written in Romans 5, act. So do not be afraid when I allow fire to touch your life. That fire is not meant to destroy you, but to burn away the falsehood clinging to your soul. The refiner never takes his eyes off the gold in the furnace, because he knows that even a moment too long could damage what is precious. So it is with me. I sit beside the furnace of your life and watch over every moment. No trial exceeds the limits I allow. No pain is meaningless. After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself restore, establish, strengthen, and settle you. As written in 1 Peter 5, saying, there is a story I want you to remember today, the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel in the night. He entered that darkness carrying fear and a past marked by deception. But when the sun rose, he walked away with a new identity. Though his leg was wounded and he walked with a limp from that day forward. He was no longer the old Jacob. My beloved child, many times I allow your soul to pass through deep struggles, not to weaken you, but to change your name from within. The wounds you carry after those battles will no longer be signs of defeat, but evidence that you truly encountered me. So today, let go. My beloved child, open the hands you have clenched so tightly for so long because of pain and disappointment. I know you have tried to hold on to answers for everything that happened. You want to understand why one person walked away, why certain promises shattered, why doors closed at the very moment you needed them most. But there are things your mind cannot fully understand right now. If you continue trying to carry every unanswered question, your soul will become exhausted beneath a burden that was never yours to bear. Lay your anger down at my feet. It cannot heal you. Release the pain from your shoulders. It is no longer your identity. There are things whose full meaning can only be seen from heaven's perspective, and there are truths that only time can uncover. Be still and know that I am God. As written in Psalm 46:10, this is not me telling you to give up. It is an invitation to rest in my control. My beloved child, I am leading you into a new season, a season where your soul will no longer be ruled by what once wounded you. You will no longer live merely defending yourself against pain. You will live to love, to heal, and to reflect my light without fearing that darkness can extinguish it. And then you will realize that the greatest thing I have done is not simply changing the circumstances around you, but transforming your heart into a dwelling place where the peace of heaven can abide. My beloved child, there are victories on this earth that no human eyes ever notice, yet heaven remembers them with eternal light. When you choose forgiveness while your heart still aches, when you remain silent in the face of misunderstanding instead of answering with bitterness, when you continue standing in truth even when no one defends you in those very moments, your soul shines before me. The world often calls powerful those who conquer through force, but heaven calls powerful the one who still preserves love despite having every reason to grow cold. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. As written in Matthew 5:5, my beloved child, your strength does not lie in having a louder voice than others, but in refusing to let darkness steal away your light. I know there have been people who used words like knives, turning your kindness into a ladder for their own ambitions. I saw the times you were taken advantage of simply because you lived sincerely. I saw the wounds for which no one ever apologized, the silences no one ever explained. But my beloved child, do not allow your soul to remain anchored in that pain. Resentment is an invisible chain that keeps you standing still, staring at the very place I am calling you to leave behind. If you continue holding on to bitterness, your heart will slowly grow heavy, and your hands will no longer be free enough to receive the new things I am preparing for you. So today, I am teaching you to look at them through different eyes, not through eyes of contempt, nor through blind naivete, but through the eyes of one who knows how to place all judgment back into my hands. The justice of heaven does not fall asleep. No word and no action exists outside my light. Do not avenge yourselves, for it is written, vengeance is mine. As written in Romans 12:19, my beloved child, allow me to handle what belongs to me. There are storms I permit in order to awaken sleeping souls. There are broken places I use to bring the proud to their knees in repentance. And if they humble themselves, I can still transform the wind that once destroyed into rain that nourishes a new season. But my beloved child, do not waste your life constantly looking at the journeys of others. I did not call you to become the keeper of their failures. I called you to continue walking the path I prepared specifically for your soul. When Peter turned and asked about John's future, Jesus answered him, if I will that he remain till I come. What is that to you? You follow me, my beloved child. Those are also my words for you today. Do not let your eyes become trapped in questions of who was right, who was wrong, or how others will be dealt with. Let your heart focus instead on drawing closer to me each day. There were things you once believed were punishments, yet in truth, they were only the correcting hand of a loving Father. When I close a door, many times it is because there is no longer life for your soul behind it. When I allow certain things to collapse, it is because their foundations could never truly sustain you. The gardener who prunes a branch does not hate the tree. He cuts it so that it may bear more fruit. So it is with me. For whom the Lord loves, he chastens. As written in Hebrews 12:6, my beloved child, even my correction carries the purpose of restoration within it. Remember Peter after the night he denied Jesus 3 times. He believed everything was over. Shame weighed so heavily upon him that he returned to his old life of fishing, as though he were no longer worthy to be used. But on the shore after the resurrection, Jesus did not come to crush Peter with condemnation. He lit a fire, prepared bread and fish, and asked him lovingly, "Do you love me?" The very place Peter believed was his final failure became the beginning of restoration. Do you see? My beloved child, the justice of heaven does not end merely by pointing out what is wrong. It is completed when the soul is healed and rises again with a renewed heart. Do not fear the court of heaven. It does not operate through the coldness of the world, but through the heartbeat of love. I do not sit counting failures like a collector keeping records of debts. I search for even the smallest sign of repentance. I see the sincere tears others never notice. I hear the silent cries for help from souls who believe they have wandered too far to return. If our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart. As written in Eins, John 3:20. My beloved child, be still for a moment and listen to the voice calling out from heaven. It does not sound like thunder meant to terrify you, but like the gentle light of dawn slowly pulling back the veil of night. I am calling the dry places within you back to life. I am breathing new breath into the dreams you thought had died. There are parts of your soul that have slept too long beneath the ashes of disappointment. But now I am touching them with my restoring hand. There is a story few people reflect upon deeply enough, the story of the valley of dry bones in the book of Ezekiel. The prophet stood in a place filled with the evidence of death and despair. Everything appeared to have ended long ago. But then I spoke, "O dry bones, hear the word of the Lord." And the breath from heaven moved through that valley, causing bone to join to bone, flesh and sinew to form, and life to return where only ashes once remained. My beloved child, what I am doing within you today is the same. The places you believed were completely dead are the very places I am preparing for a new season of resurrection. So lift up your head. Do not continue living as though you are still imprisoned by your past. I have not only rescued you from darkness, I am transforming you into a living testimony that light is stronger than the longest night. And when my justice completes its work within you, you will understand that I am not only the judge seated upon the throne above, but also the Redeemer, bending down to lift your soul into peace, freedom, and new life. My beloved child, let these words sink into the deepest place within your soul. My judgment is never mistaken. It is not guided by temporary emotions, nor distorted by the voice of the crowd. When I am silent, it is not because I have forgotten. When I delay, it is not because I have grown weak. I wait because my mercy is still extended, because I always give human souls the opportunity to turn back before the full light of justice rises. The Lord is not slow concerning his promise, but is long-suffering toward you. As written in Peter 3:9, my beloved child, even my delays carry the heartbeat of love. But know this, The time will come when I speak, and when I do, every falsehood will disappear like mist before the morning sun. What has been hidden for too long will be brought into the light. The accusations that once cast shadows over your life will lose their power, not because you defended yourself, but because truth always rises boldly like the dawn after a long night. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. As written in John Act, 2:31, my truth does not merely expose what is wrong, it releases the soul from the chains of fear and shame. My beloved child, hear me calling your name today. You are not the product of your failures. You are not the sum of your wounds or the words others once spoke over you. You are chosen, loved, and redeemed with a very great price. Perhaps the world once made you feel small, worthless, or forgotten among the crowd, but heaven knows your name. I know every step you have taken, every time you fell and quietly rose again. And today, the court of heaven declares over your life, enough. Enough of the nights spent chased by the past. Enough of the invisible accusations that have weighed down your soul for too long. There is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. As written in Romans 8:1, my beloved child, the season of restoration has already begun, not in the places where you are strongest, but in the very places you once believed were the end. I delight in creating something new from lands the world calls ruined. When Israel stood before the Red Sea with enemies behind them and deep waters before them, they believed they had reached the end. Yet in the place where there seemed to be no way forward, I opened a new path. My beloved child, I am doing the same in your life today. Right in the middle of the ruins you thought could never be restored, I am opening the way of life. I have seen the tears you sowed through those silent years. I heard the prayers that no one else could hear but me, and now I am gathering them all together like a farmer, preserving every precious seed for the harvest at the appointed time. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. As written in Psalm 126:5, my beloved child, your tears were never wasted. The very places where you once wept in despair will become fields bearing the fruit of healing. There are things you lost that you believed would never return again. There were broken pieces you tried desperately to hold on to because you feared there would be nothing left if you let go. But I do not merely restore, I transform. A potter does not gather shattered fragments simply to glue them back together exactly as they were before. He creates a new vessel, more beautiful, from the very clay that had once been ruined. So it is with me. I will rebuild your life not to hide the cracks, but so that my light may shine through them. The places that once hurt most deeply within you will become the places where my glory is revealed most clearly. Remember Joseph. He was betrayed, sold as a slave, and forgotten in prison. If Joseph had only longed to return to the life he had before the suffering began, he would never have entered the destiny I prepared for him. I did not bring him back to his past. I brought him into something greater than his past. My beloved child, I do not merely want to return you to an earlier version of yourself. I am leading you into the person I saw from the very beginning, stronger, purer, deeper, and filled with greater light. There is a story few people reflect upon deeply enough, the story of Lazarus. When he died and lay in the tomb for 4 days, everyone believed it was too late. The smell of death had already settled in, and hope seemed buried behind a great stone. But Jesus stood before the tomb and declared, Lazarus, come forth, my beloved child. I want you to understand this. There is no place too dark for my voice to reach. Nothing in your life is too ruined for me to restore. Even where you believe only ashes remain, I can still call life back again. So today, do not pray merely to become who you once were before the pain. Do not ask me to take you back to the old version of yourself that existed before suffering touched your life. I am doing something far greater than that. I am forming within you a soul that has passed through fire without being destroyed. A soul that has walked through darkness, yet still carries light. You will no longer love like someone who has never been wounded, but you will love with the wisdom of one who has been healed. You will no longer trust with naive innocence, but you will walk with eyes awakened by truth and a heart that still remains gentle. My beloved child, look closely. The river of life is now flowing through the very cracks within your soul. What once made you believe you were broken is now becoming the doorway through which grace pours forth. And then you will understand that heaven's restoration is not about returning to the old person you once were, but about stepping into the new glory I prepared for you long before you ever knew the pain of this life. My beloved child, there are moments when your soul senses a heaviness that words cannot fully explain. The house may appear the same. Familiar faces may still surround you. Yet peace begins to feel fragile, like a lamp trembling before the wind. There are days when prayer feels dry, when your heart becomes more easily angered, when invisible distances begin growing between people who once loved each other deeply. My beloved child, do not ignore those signs. Not everything is meaningless coincidence. There are times when your soul is being warned that the spiritual walls around your family need to be rebuilt through prayer, forgiveness, and my presence. But do not fear when you recognize this. I do not reveal these things to bring panic, but to awaken you. A soldier does not fall asleep after noticing cracks in the city walls. He rises up and strengthens them before the storm arrives. In the same way, I am calling you today to rise in faith, not through the shouting of fear, but through the steadfastness of a soul that knows I still reign within your house. Be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. As written in Ephesians 6:10, my beloved child, spiritual armor is not worn through emotion, but through faithful prayer and trust in me. Do not believe your small prayers are weak. There are nights when a single sincere whisper shakes the darkness more powerfully than thousands of empty words. When you open your lips and call upon me within your home, light begins to move. Declare in faith, Father, rebuild the walls around my family. For words spoken from a heart anchored in me carry the power to build what natural eyes cannot see. When Nehemiah rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem, enemies mocked him and tried to discourage the people. Yet stone by stone, the walls were restored through perseverance and prayer. So it is with your family. There may be cracks today, but I am still able to rebuild what has been broken. My beloved child, light is never consumed by darkness, because light is stronger than the very nature of darkness. Darkness exists only where light withdraws. So do not let the flame within you fade because of weariness or disappointment. Continue to nourish it with my word, with quiet moments spent in my presence, and with even the smallest acts of love within your family. Your word is a lamp to my feet, as written in Psalm 119:105. As long as my word still echoes within your home, darkness will not reign there. I know there are good hearts within your family. I see that love is still present, even though it has at times been covered by layers of hurt, misunderstanding, and long silence. Some words have left wounds deeper than the speaker ever realized. Some distances began with very small things but slowly became invisible walls. And it is through those unhealed cracks that darkness tries to enter, sowing division and coldness. But my beloved child, I am calling you to become the first one to move toward reconciliation. Forgive, even while your heart still aches, not because what others did was right, but because I do not want your heart imprisoned in chains of bitterness. Forgiveness is like closing the door that darkness once used to enter your soul. Be kind to one another, forgiving one another, just as God forgave you, as written in Ephesians 4:32. Every time you choose gentleness instead of argument, prayer instead of criticism, you are mending the invisible fractures within your home. There is a story I want you to remember today, the story of Job. When everything around him collapsed and pain covered his household, he still kept his heart turned toward me amid the ashes. And there is something many people overlook. Job's restoration began when he prayed for others. My beloved child, many times the miracle within your family will begin in exactly the same way, not by trying to win every argument, but by kneeling down and interceding for one another. Do not think that a strong home is a home without conflict. A strong home is a place where someone is willing to humble themselves before me. It is a place where souls are willing to say, I'm sorry, willing to forgive, willing to pray together even while many things remain imperfect. When a family turns its face toward me together, even what once seemed impossible to heal begins to soften beneath the light of heaven. My child, I am not only a refuge for you personally, I desire to become the holy fire at the center of your household. The Lord will be a wall of fire around her. As written in Zechariah 2:5, there are things your eyes cannot see, yet my presence is protecting your family far more than you know. When prayer rises, heaven moves. When love is chosen instead of resentment, darkness loses its place. When you place me at the center, your house no longer remains merely a place to live, but becomes a ground of healing. So, today, do not only ask me to change the circumstances surrounding your family. Let me begin with your own heart first. Let me teach you to love with patience, to speak with gentleness, and to listen with mercy, and then you will witness something beautiful. Places once filled with tension will slowly regain peace. Places once cold will begin to warm again. Places once burdened with heavy silence will once again echo with prayer and laughter. For when my light is nurtured within your home, darkness cannot remain there forever. My beloved child, I do not speak these things to make your heart fearful of darkness, but to awaken within you the understanding that faith is not a fleeting emotion that rises and falls with circumstances. Faith is a living strength that connects your soul to heaven. There are days when you pray and everything around you still seems unchanged. You do not see doors opening. You do not hear clear answers. And your heart begins to wonder if your prayers are simply dissolving into silence. But my beloved child, the unseen realm is moving far more than your eyes can perceive. For we walk by faith, not by sight. As written in 2 Corinthians 5:7, every word you speak in my name is never lost. It resounds in heaven like seed sown into the ground in its appointed season. You do not realize that there are battles that were stopped before they ever reached your life simply because of a prayer you once offered through tears. There are darknesses that retreated simply because you chose trust instead of surrendering to fear. The world believes strength lies in what can be seen, but heaven knows there is great power in a soul that still kneels in prayer, even when nothing around it has yet changed. Remember Daniel in the lion's den. Before the miracle became visible to all, a spiritual battle had already taken place in the hidden place of faith. Daniel did not know how the angel would shut the lions' mouths. He only knew to continue turning his heart toward me as he had done every day. And it was that quiet faithfulness that opened the way for the power of heaven to move. Tonight, the room around you may still feel silent. Perhaps you have not yet seen any clear sign that things are changing. But my beloved child, do not mistake my silence for my absence. Dawn always begins in the deepest darkness of the night. A seed always takes root beneath the soil before anyone sees the first green shoot appear. In the same way, there are things I am already doing in the unseen realm that your eyes are not yet able to perceive. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. As written in Exodus 14:14, heaven's silence is not a sign that I am standing still. Many times, it is the moment just before the light breaks forth. My beloved child, Heaven does not require you to be perfect before you are worthy of help. If perfection were the condition for me to move, no soul would ever be saved. I am not searching for people who have never trembled in fear. I am looking for those who still lift their eyes toward me, even while trembling. The Father in Scripture cried out, "Lord, I believe, help my unbelief." As written in Mark 9:24. And I did not turn away from him because his faith was imperfect. My child, even one sincere cry is enough for heaven to listen. There is a story few people reflect upon deeply enough, the story of Cornelius. He was not a perfect man, nor did he fully understand every spiritual mystery. Yet he feared me and prayed with sincerity. And then, on what seemed like an ordinary and silent day, an angel appeared to him and said that his prayers had been remembered before God. Do you see? My beloved child, there are prayers you believe disappeared into empty space, when in truth they are being kept before heaven's throne for the appointed time. I want you to understand that angels do not move because of your outward display, but because your soul comes into agreement with my word. One simple confession spoken in faith carries more power than countless cries filled with fear. When you say, "Father, I still believe you are here," even while your heart trembles, heaven hears it. When you pray for your family in the silence of the late night hours, light has already begun touching places you cannot yet see. When you refuse to surrender to despair, you are closing the door that darkness longs to enter through. Do not think that faith means always feeling strong. True faith is often simply the decision to pray one more time. It is rising again after a long night and still saying, "Lord, I will not leave you." It is keeping a small lamp burning in the midst of strong winds, instead of releasing it to be swallowed by darkness. And my beloved child, I see every one of those quiet efforts. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not quench. As written in Isaiah 42:3, I am far gentler than you imagine. So tonight, do not wait until you feel completely strong before coming near to me. Come to me exactly as you are in your weakness. Open your lips, even if only with the smallest prayer. Let your soul come into agreement with light instead of fear. And then you will begin to realize that the first thing to change is not the circumstances around you, but the atmosphere within your own soul. Peace will begin to return. Hope will begin to glow like a small flame in the night. And little by little, you will see what I have long been doing in the unseen realm begin to appear before your eyes. My beloved child, I have never forgotten a single prayer you have spoken. No cry rising from a sincere heart fails to reach heaven. So continue believing. Continue praying. Continue standing firm, even when your eyes cannot yet see the entire path ahead.